Hello everybody and welcome to episode 1 of BobsPodSocks. So Rob, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do. Let's make it a little bit interesting. Tell us a little bit about what you enjoy doing in your spare time, what you do, why you do what you do, and what benefits you get out of it and what benefits it gives other people.
Well, I don't have much spare time, to be honest, Bobby. When you run, when you're running a charity, you spend, or any kind of business, you spend all day, every day, most evenings working on it. Now, the lovely thing with this is, with Rammy Men, it's all the things I love to do anyway. So I started it about 8 years ago. We had a couple of my friends took their own lives. And when I looked at what had happened, it came down really to just being lonely. They didn't have any friends around them. They didn't have any hobbies. They didn't have anything to do. So when they got really down and circumstances went against them, they didn't know where to go. So I set Rammy Men up so we had somewhere to go, stuff to do, people who were always around. And this is what you see today.
And would you say that the people who have come to Rammy Man have changed for the better? Would you say it's definitely helped them out in the long run?
Well, you came 2 weeks ago, didn't you, Bobby?
Yeah.
And when you came in, I mean, how did you find Rammy Men? Why did you come back? What did you find interesting?
Well, I wanted to come because I wanted to relate to people who had kind of been through similar experiences to me and just kind of work on my communication and confidence and try and make some new friends and try and kind of do something that I want to do and try and just stem from that really.
So this is your second time coming back, isn't it?
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
how have you found? Well, we got Bobby's pod socks
Yeah.
out of it, didn't we?
Yeah, so it was good. First time I went, I don't know, the first time I felt a little bit like I didn't fit in because there was like a lot of elderly people, but when I came back this week, obviously it felt like I felt a little bit more part of it because there were people younger, and it makes me feel really welcoming, and the people, were willing to interact with you, willing to strike up a conversation with you, and that's what I like as well, and that's where you start to develop friendships with people through talking, through getting to know each other, finding out what each other's interests are, and yeah, I think it's really good to come to support groups, especially if you're going through things, and it's a good place to come out your shell a little bit and work on skills. You don't just come and talk. You come to have a good time and to meet new people and develop new friendships. So support groups are important. We're a vital part of today's world, especially with mental health being so big. I think these are important. I think if these support groups weren't around to give men or anyone else the help they need, then I think people would be struggling massively.
Well, I think you've answered the question better than I have, because that's what we set up for.
Yeah.
So everything we do is based around activities. So we're not just coming for a chat. We come and do stuff. So today, Thursday, we have technology stuff going on.
Yeah.
So it's a younger group of fellas.
Yeah.
When you came last week, you just dropped in. I think it was a Wednesday when we have.
It was a Monday, I think.
Was it a Monday?
Yeah.
So we have Monday afternoons. We have older people who are, have come to do some arts and crafts. Yeah. So everyone's got their reasons for coming. Yeah, but at the end of the day, we're here to do something useful.
Yeah.
And if you're sitting alongside someone like you, who's got an interest in the stuff you're doing, then that's a great friendship, isn't it?
I think as well, if like you said, if you've got the same interest, then you just click like that, don't you? And it's easy just to slot right in. And this is kind of where BobsPodSocks came from, because when I came here at first, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Like, I was interested in doing travel stuff, but when we came into your office, it was, right, what are you interested in? And I saw all this, and it kind of reminded me of me wanting to do a music and media course at college, but I was told I couldn't do it because it was too difficult. And I looked at all this and I thought, yeah, I definitely want to do something around music. And that's kind of where you said, right, what do you want to do? Do you want to do something around videography? I can't say that word properly. Or podcasts or music and production. And that's kind of where my imagination ran wild. I was like, what can I do? What can we get out of this? And that's kind of when I thought about podcasts. When you mentioned about podcasts, I thought, yeah, I wouldn't mind doing a podcast, because I've seen people do them, and I thought it's interesting to see what people talk about, because obviously each podcast has a different purpose and different people touch on different topics. Obviously, with BobsPodSocks, we want to touch on mental health and awareness and different abilities. I will make it very clear, we will not use the word disability on this podcast, and I will put it out there. That word should not be used because it just sounds really negative, and you're just putting people in boxes by using that word. So on this podcast, and for all you listeners out there, different abilities. Come on, people, let's make different abilities. Let's just put it out there, because it's not, you're not just being put in a box like that, because if you've got a different ability, it's not so much that you're being labelled, because we all have different abilities. You've got to normalise it a little bit. So I think it's very important to put it out there, so you're not feeling like you're not human, because you are human. We are every doesn't matter what you've got, everybody, even if you're a listener, you are all human, yeah? It don't matter what you struggle with, whether you struggle with day-to-day things, we are all the same. So what if you need extra help? Doesn't matter. But yeah, different abilities will be made clear.
Well, Bob, you mentioned before that you wanted to do music and media at college, and you were told that it was too difficult. Now, who's to decide it's too difficult? You're now recording, and we'll be editing a podcast.
Yeah.
What's difficult? What's too difficult about it? And that's a really negative judgment. No one was willing to help you do it.
Yeah.
They couldn't be bothered to help you do it.
Yeah.
But music, anyone can. You don't have to be playing virtuoso violin to be making music.
No, of course you don't.
Media, you're doing media now.
Yeah.
So if you were at college doing this, you'd be sat in lectures and you'd have someone who's never really done it in anger telling you what to do.
Yeah.
Now they've decided that you can't do it. So what they've actually done is they've sent you away and you're doing it for yourself.
Yeah.
Now how much better is that?
Better. And it just goes to show as well, I think that for all you listeners, it just goes to show that you don't need to do a college course to do any of this. All you need to do is find a group of people who have the same interest in as you, people who have a little bit of experience, and you all have the same interest. That's all you need. You don't need to go to college. You don't need to sit in a classroom for 6-7 hours. You don't need to do that. You're doing it all. I don't want to say the wrong way, because obviously everyone has a different way of doing things, but I just think that you should never be told that you can't do something, because can't is not in the dictionary. Always have the I can do attitude. If you want to go and do a podcast, you want to go and be a movie star, be a vlogger, do it. Go for it. The world's your oyster.
Well, for me, Bobby, the only can't that you've come across is a college that says they can't be bothered to help you do what you want to do.
Yeah.
You're up for it. You're doing it. You're capable of doing it. They couldn't be bothered sitting working with you.
Yeah.
And that's that's not acceptable. They're the people that use the word disability.
Yeah.
They should be the people that are helping people like you and me to achieve our ambitions and our aims.
I think that is the downfall with places like colleges, is that they're putting the negative words in there, and they're giving negative encouragement, and it's making people think, well, if you're using the word disability, is that what am I going to do? But colleges, we do encourage, of course we do encourage, but I think that sometimes it's the wrong encouragement, and I think it's
Bobby,
too negative.
if someone's listening now and they want, so I came across Steph Marie, who's runs the Butterfly Princess podcast. And she, during lockdown, was bored. She was climbing the walls of boredom. She decided, I'm going to start a podcast. She went and did it.
Yeah.
Same for you.
Yeah.
You went and did it. If anyone's listening and they're thinking, I want to go to college and I want to learn to do YouTube videos, I want to learn to do... Just do it. You don't have to go to college. And if you do it well, you know, all of the YouTubers or the Discord players that you watch, they've all just done it. They've got something they want to say, and they say it. You don't need a certificate to say, you know, this person is qualified to say this. Just get on with it.
I mean, to me, I'm going to be really honest with you, qualifications mean nothing. I think it's all up there, it's all in your mind, and you don't need, like you said, a qualification to dictate what your future holds, what jobs you can and can't do, because you just do it, you just take the plunge, don't you? You just get up there and just do it.
There's hard work. So hard work is a big part of it,
Yeah.
and you have to be brave enough to give it a try. Now, you know, don't get me wrong, we're going to have to sit and we're going to have to learn how to edit audio, and it's not going to be easy, but we can do it.
Yeah.
So there are skills that you need to learn, and if you're going to college to learn those skills, fair play.
Yeah.
Things like I mean, you're obviously a very good talker, you're a very good interviewer.
Yeah.
They're the skills that no college is going to teach you. They're the things that actually get you on in the world. So if you have those, learn what you need to learn, get on with it, get doing it, get practicing, get better at it, and, you know, the world's your oyster.
Yeah. It all comes with, you don't learn everything in school or college, you pick things up as you go, and you know, you've just got it comes with confidence, it comes with having an open mind, and, you know, if something's being offered to you and, you know, it benefits you, take it.
So how was school for you, Bobby? Did they get you through exams? Did they look after you? Which school did you go through?
So I attended a special school. I'm not going to name which school it is, but I attended a special school for quite a number of years, and they supported me. They met my needs for quite a few years. As time went on, I started to outgrow the school. I started to get bored. I didn't really want to be there. When I was in year 11, which is my final year of school, that's when I wanted to go to a mainstream college and do my music and media. But I was just told I wasn't ready, so I just went on to the further education department, did a few years there, progressed quite well. I did some tests for my exams, I did quite well with that. Then eventually, over time, I got bored, I didn't really want to be there. In my second year at college, I just got to a point where I don't want to do this, but I was told just to keep going, and I kept going. I stayed there until last November, where I decided I was just going to take the plunge and just go, because I didn't want to do it anymore.
So what were they teaching you at college?
So it was a lot of life skills and maths and English. So things around like independent skills like cooking, cleaning, paying bills, maintaining a house, flat.
So did you find that was quite, I mean, you left obviously, but
Yeah.
did you find it was quite useful?
Yeah, it's quite beneficial, and, you know, it certainly teaches young people about what it's like to live independently. I think that even mainstream colleges and, you know, schools should be teaching that, because without those sort of lessons, and if you're not always taught at home, I think you're just walking into a big wide world, not knowing what you're going to do, not having any experience, you know, you've not had any guidance, and it's important that you are shown at a young age, because if the younger you're shown, the better, and the more experience you've gotten, the more you'll be able to do for yourself later on in life.
Well, I remember when I was at primary school, so I'm 50 now.
Yeah,
and what
definitely showing your age.
Thank you. I don't look it, do I? Hey. How old are you, by the way, Bobby?
Oh, I'm nearly 20.
Nearly 20. So we used to, I don't know if they still do it, we used to have the local bank had come in, and you'd open a bank account.
Yeah.
And you'd have your checkbook, and you'd have we all got a Midland Bank bag.
Yeah.
You see all the school walking around with them. But we learned, I must have been 7, and we were learning how a bank works.
Wow.
We were learning how to manage our own money. Now, I don't know if that still a thing at your school, or did you have to wait for college for that to come
No,
along?
so God, I think we did a bit when I was in high school, but it was more around college. It was because when I went to my further education bit, it was a lot more focused on life skills and equipping you for independent living.
And which college was it? Was it Bury?
No, it was one over in Lancashire.
Because that sounds brilliant.
Yeah.
I certainly, a lot of people that we see down here of your age need that kind of training, need to know how to, do the basics. What do interest rates mean?
Yeah.
What if you go and get a mortgage, can I afford the mortgage? If the interest rates go up, can I afford people don't know these things.
I think for places like the college I went to, it really is worth going there for the life skills. I mean, learning how to budget, a lot of young people don't know how to budget.
So have you got a bank account and credit cards and things like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know how to handle them and how to.
Yeah, I'd like to think so anyway.
Because it's not easy, is it?
It's
not easy. No. You see something you want, and generally we go and buy it, and then we worry about paying for it later.
I think when you see something you want, it's always like, I just want to get it. I want to get it, and your mind's just fixated on that one thing, and it's constantly there. Right? Do I get it? The temptation's there to get it, but then you've got to say, listen, no, mate, I've only got such and such an amount in my account, and if I get it, then I'm just going to be running a little bit low on money. So it's you've always got to be mindful with it. Even if it's as tempting as it is.
So do you live with your parents still?
No, I don't. No.
So you've got your own place, have you?
Yeah.
Which is great, isn't it?
Yeah.
So do you manage all the money for that and all your own cooking and things?
So I'm not gonna lie. When it comes to cooking, I can't cook.
Yeah, I can't either.
Yeah, I think. Let's be honest with each other, it's a typical man thing that men just can't cook. Men, and this, I've got quite an old-fashioned opinion, by the way, you'll probably learn if I can get my words out throughout the podcast. There are times where I can have a really old-fashioned opinion, and my opinion on men is that we just go finishing work, we like going down the pub, we just like putting our feet up, watching the football, or we're just like going out and about doing our thing. And when it comes to cooking, it's more of like we just go home and think, our partner's just going to be putting tea on. I'll just I'll do whatever I'm doing. And part of this day and age is you can't really go thinking like that.
Yeah, you can't go saying that either, Bobby.
That's more of like back
you like
in
your
the day.
tea making for you. What I've found, because I do some cooking.
Yeah.
I like chefing type cooking. So if
Yeah.
I'm cooking, I'm doing something extravagant.
Yeah.
Whereas cooking tea, I can't be bothered with things like beans on toast. I just can't be bothered. Day-to-day cooking. But if you want some wonderful chef creation, that's where you need a fella.
Kind of like thinking out the box one, isn't it?
Yeah, well, just playing with it. I'm like, and I don't want to generalise, but I'm like a puppy. I like playing with stuff. I like, if it's just washing dishes and I can't be bothered. Just put my feet up and leave them in a pile. But we probably don't. We need to stop talking about this because we get in trouble, and you don't want to get in trouble on your first podcast.
No, definitely. Please, anyone listening to this, we really do hope you've not been offended by any of it.
Yeah.
We went a little bit off topic there, which is it is a thing where when you talk, you'll notice you just get carried away and you just start going down paths, and like when you're listening to music and you just get like so into a song and you get wrapped up and your imagination runs wild and stuff. It's kind of a little bit like that.
This is something we need to look at though, Bobby, because what you've done is you've made a joke really about men being lazy and men not being bothered cooking. At the end of the day, if people get offended by that, people need to look at themselves, because who cares? There's things that are offensive. Russia bombing Ukraine offends me.
Yeah.
Bobby suggesting he can't be bothered cooking, or that men in
Yeah.
general, and some men are amazing top chefs.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Some men can't be bothered cooking. Some men are good cooks. We have pretty much the whole spectrum here. But it's not offensive, is it? Is that offensive, Bobby? If someone's upset by that, it doesn't make sense, does it?
If my idea of offensive and what I've been told is getting offended is a choice, but because a lot of what you see, especially online these days, is that people just take offence to a little list of things, and it's like you're walking on eggshells, and I just think, well, you shouldn't have to walk on eggshells. It's a free country. Say what you want. Obviously, you've got to keep it respectful, and can't go being rude about it. But as long as you're getting your point across, but you're doing it in a nice and respectful way, then there's not a problem with it. If you are just effing and jeffing and just shouting, then that is a problem. But if, like you've said, like something like men not being bothered to cook, me making jokes like that as you'll learn throughout this podcast, that's my humour. We all have we're all into different types of humour.
And I suppose as well, if you're doing a podcast that people are listening to, and you're honest with people, that's what people want to hear. What your aim for this is to have honest discussions about things, not to, like you say, tread on eggshells and not upset anybody. So what you said before about being called disabled, if that upsets people, then good, because they need upsetting.
You've got to learn that, especially like labelling people not acceptable, shouldn't be happening. Don't do it, because it makes you bitter. It just makes people look at you and think, wow, I don't know if I want to be around you, because you're just categorising people, and you don't need to do that.
But it's that box again, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like my ex was disabled. Sorry to use the word.
No, it's not right.
But the reason I use it is I remember once we parked the car in a disabled space. Now, she was 32, really pretty, but she had terrible rheumatoid arthritis. That meant she'd had knee and hip replacement. She really struggled to walk. So she couldn't walk very far. We used to use a wheelchair quite a lot. But I remember we were in Colchester and we pulled into a parking space. And this old fella walked up, looked at us straight in the face, and got his tissue out and started wiping the disabled sign in front of the parking space.
Wow, I was absolutely...
And we were looking at him like, what's the problem here? And because she wasn't his idea of a 75-year-old disabled person, we didn't count, and I couldn't believe that. And it's that pigeonhole you're talking about. We have this image of disabled being an old fella with a Zimmer frame. It's just not, is it?
No, disabled is not just a physical different ability. It can be mental as well. And I think it's disgusting that people, make assumptions on things, and it just goes to show that maybe people, and not everyone's going to understand certain different abilities, but that is life. You're going to get people like that, but absolutely people should be more considerate and more understanding. People shouldn't just base you off what they see. They should, or what we've read off a piece of paper, they should see you for what you are and think, well, maybe I shouldn't have assumed that this person was like the way it was, because clearly they're not how I thought it was. And that's why you shouldn't go making assumptions, because at the end of it, let's be honest, it just makes you look a bit silly, doesn't it? Because, you've thought something, but you've not thought the right thing, and the person you're making an assumption of isn't how you've assumed. So you really have, if you're coming across people, you really have got to have an open mind, and you can't just go, you look weird, so you mustn't be intelligent. Now, that, you're insulting someone's intelligence by being like that, just because someone might think a certain way or look in a certain way doesn't mean they're not bright. It doesn't mean that they're not you know, that they're not capable of something, that they're not there, because they are. It's just that actually you don't really know that person, so you've not actually seen what they're like in full, if that makes any sense.
Well, everyone's unique.
Yeah.
And everyone has, like, I'm, you know, you wouldn't class me as, sorry to use the word again, disabled.
Yeah.
But I'm agoraphobic. So I can get, I don't know, 400 yards from here.
Yeah.
And then I have a panic attack. So you look at me, you don't see that. There's no little label. There's no, you know, this thing where people have started wearing green lanyards with sunflowers on them, which quietly tells people that you've got issues.
Yeah.
No, and I've said to one of the lads here, take that off. Steve, just go and be Steve. You don't need this little bloody badge that tells people that you're not like everybody. No.
What for everyone listening to this, you should not go around thinking that you are any different to anybody else, because you're not. You shouldn't, and wearing those sort of badges, you shouldn't feel like you have to go around wearing a lanyard. You know, you should be allowed to go out and be you. You shouldn't have to go around thinking, but I'm different. Listen, we're all the same. We might act different and do things differently, but that's just called being human. None of us are alike, because if we was all the same, then the world would be boring. So, and that's nothing to do with different ability terms. That's just normalising and generalising it all.
Yeah, it's prejudice.
Yeah.
You're prejudging people based on some pigeonhole that you've put them in. So, Bob, what's the plan for the podcast going forward? Who will you be interviewing? And
so we are hoping one of them is going to be a coordinator. We will tell you a little bit about a coordinator. So a coordinator is somebody who helps people with different abilities and people who struggle with mental health. Andy Burnham.
Oof.
Oh,
we'll give it a try.
Yeah.
Should we get Rishi Sunak as well?
Oh, let's get Prince Charles.
King Charles now.
Oh yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Totally
King
forgot.
Charles.
Oh, totally forgot.
Donald Trump. Ooh.
Oh.
So who do you want to listen to the podcast?
So the podcast, we want to be all ages. We want people who are maybe who don't know what we want to do for a career, or maybe we're just struggling with mental health, or
so people like us, really, isn't it?
Just want a little bit of advice, a little bit of guidance, a little bit of honesty, a lot of honesty. You'll find that here. You know, this is replaced for all of that. We want to try and help people. What I'm going to say now is this podcast it's not just my podcast. It's not just about the guests. It's about you guys listening. We want to make you welcome. Feedback is more than welcome. Any interaction is more than welcome. You know, you've got a certain topic you want us to cover, just let us know, and we'll try our best to answer your questions. We'll help you in the best way we can. You know, we'll try and support you in the best way we can.
So have you got an email address that you can give to people to contact you?
So what I was thinking is that we, through the BobsPodSocks, so if you're following on, like, say, Instagram, Facebook or TikTok, you could always drop a DM on there. But we do have an email address as well, which is, it's going to be a bit of a mouthful, this. BobsPodSocks23@gmail.com.
So BobsPodSocks, SOCKS.
Yes, yeah.
23?
Yeah, at gmail.com.
At gmail.com.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We really do hope you've enjoyed the first episode. Many more episodes to come.